Facts Church. When you look above, get the inspiration for that brotherly love. Facts Church. When you look around.
Welcome to the monthly meeting for Facts Church on Moon Day, March 30th, 2009. We meet every new moon on the Monday nearest to the new moon, so that after we have our meeting, we can all go outside and share in the joyous experience of looking up at the night sky, where there's a new moon, so therefore we can see farthest back in time and in space, and we pause and we reflect on our lives. Now today we're going to speak about discrimination, specifically discrimination against atheism and atheists, because there's a whole lot of it out there. You may recall back in a few years in Cupertino, there was an incident where a teacher was trying to use history to teach about God and was trying to inculcate belief in God with his students. Some of the parents complained. And when there was this big uproar because the one religious group got involved and said, well, wait a second, this teacher isn't allowed to talk what he wants to talk about, and of course he's not allowed under our constitutional system, there was a big outcry, and people started talking about this system in the Cupertino schools. And what they said was that this was, when they reported in the newspaper, they said that the school was being unpatriotic and godless. Why would you put unpatriotic and godless together? The superintendent of schools for Cupertino, trying to coddle up to the population out there, he said that he put together the stupid and non-believing in the same sentence. What is this? I mean, that's pretty outrageous. If they had done that with any other group, I think we would have heard a remarkable outcry. And I think you might recall why that is. If you think back in our history, because we had presidents saying things like what Dwight D. Eisenhower said in the 50s, that recognition of the supreme being is the most basic expression of Americanism. I thought Americanism was equality, things like that. I didn't think it had some religious view. Do you recall back when then Vice President, George Herbert Walker Bush was running for president, when he announced his candidacy? He was vice president under Reagan. And when he announced his candidacy, he was asked about what was he going to do about the atheist vote. He said, I don't think that atheists should be regarded as citizens, nor can they be regarded as patriotic. Can you believe that? I mean, put any other group in there and think of the outcry that would have occurred. When Atheist Alliance International held its meeting in Colorado Springs, held an annual meeting, it asked for a letter of welcome from the governor and from the mayor of Colorado Springs, something that groups always ask for. They were refused. It was denied by both the governor and the mayor. The mayor acknowledged that he had never before denied that letter. But these are atheists. We're not going to acknowledge atheists. What a horrible thing. When the Pledge of Allegiance was put into, had the under God placed into it in the 1950s, the chief sponsor in the House of Representatives placed in the congressional record that an atheistic American is a contradiction in terms. These are extraordinary statements. I mean, absolutely outrageous. And think back when Elian Gonzalez, remember that episode? When he was finally, he came over from Cuba, and the Department of State decided that he should go back to Cuba to be with his father. And the Immigration and Naturalization Service came and rescued him, or whatever you want to call it. They took him. The mayor of Miami, trying to come up with the worst insult he could possibly come up with, said they're atheists. They don't believe in God, talking about the INS agents. What did that have to do with anything? And when former Attorney General John Ashcroft gave his speech, he spoke about civilized individuals, Christians, Jews, and Muslims, all understand that the source of freedom and human dignity comes from the Creator. We obviously, who are atheists, don't believe that. This is the Attorney General. He's supposed to be showing equal respect for all religious views of all the people in the United States. How could he say such a thing like that? It continues. Atheists at times have been invited to city council meetings, rarely, but occasionally. When it happened in Charleston, South Carolina, and in Tampa, Florida, in both circumstances, members of the city council left before the atheist was even allowed to give his words. What an insult. Incredible. I think that we have this problem, and I think that we need to address it. And I know there are many of you who think, well, it's not that big a deal. It's a huge deal. And again, I would ask you to think about other situations. Think about, for instance, in South Carolina. Remember when the Confederate flag was flying over the State House? The whole state was boycotted. People were furious because blacks saw that signal, that flag, the Confederate flag, as being an insult to them. It was the sign of slavery. Whites claimed that no, it was a sign of the gentility of the Southern culture. But we saw this huge outcry. Now imagine if you knew what was really going on in South Carolina in their Constitution that very same time. As a matter of fact, still in their Constitution today, they have the following clause: no person who denies the existence of a supreme being shall hold any office under this Constitution. Can you imagine if it said no black can hold any office under this Constitution? There would be an outcry like crazy. I mean, the flag would be nothing by comparison to that. Yet to this very day in South Carolina, those words exist in the Constitution. Not only in South Carolina, they exist in 7 other states as well. In Arkansas, Maryland, Mississippi, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and Texas, all of them have similar clauses. 8 states have clauses like that in their constitutions. This is extraordinary. So I think that there is a very big bias against atheists. And I think that you would find that out if you look through the literature. As a matter of fact, you can do that. The Pew Research Foundation has studied this. 32% of the population only 32% holds a favorable opinion of atheists. Much lower than any other group. In 2006, there was a study done at the University of Minnesota. They came out and they said that atheists are less likely to be accepted publicly and privately than any others from a long list of ethnic, religious, and other minority groups. Clearly, atheists are despised. So in addition to those constitutions of 8 states, we also see that Gallup did a poll. And when they did a poll in 1958, they said, suppose you had somebody who was a candidate for president, and you believed in everything that person believed in, but you found out that the person was blank, would you vote for that person? And these were the blanks. Catholic. If you were Catholic, 22% of the population said they wouldn't vote for a Catholic. 28% wouldn't vote for a Jew. 41% wouldn't vote for a woman. 53% wouldn't vote for a black. And 77% wouldn't vote for an atheist. Now that study was replicated, right? That was in 1958. It was replicated in 1999. Only 4% wouldn't vote for a Catholic in 1999. 6% wouldn't vote for a Jew. 7% wouldn't vote for a woman. 4% wouldn't vote for a black. For an atheist, 48% wouldn't vote for an atheist. How do you explain that? Well, I explain that when our government takes a position. And that's why we as atheists should be very frightened about what goes on when our government takes a position. I know many atheists, many people, but atheists included, say, well, it's not that big a deal. Really? How do you explain the fact that there was a huge proportion of people who wouldn't vote for blacks in 1958, 53%, more than half, wouldn't vote for a black, and that went down to 4% in 1999. What happened? How come for the first 200-something years of our nation's, or the United States history, we had this prejudice against blacks, and something happened in the 40 years between 1958 and 1999. What happened in that time? The government stopped giving the message that, yeah, it's okay to think of blacks as second-class citizens. And I think the same thing would happen if the government would stop sending the message against atheists, which it continually sends in our Pledge of Allegiance, in our motto, on all our coins and currency, in the opening of the Supreme Court, in our prayers to God by Congress, and all of these continual repetitions of the idea that atheists are second-class citizens. This endorsement that belief in God is good.